I call the honourable member Jonathan Young.
Sir, I think what we want to probably make clear is that things are a matter of balance, and when the sponsor of the bill says that this government does not support children or does not support families, that is incorrect. Sir, because we know and she knows that this government introduced legislation with the budget and passed through all stages into law on the 16th of May, increases around the number of weeks of paid parental leave from the current 14 weeks to 16 weeks as of 1st of April 2015 and to 18 weeks as of 1st of April 2016. And I think the member she was referring to made the comment around affordability. And when I talk about balance and affordability, what we've got to understand is that this government spends its money out of essentially a single bucket. And so money that we spend in one area can't be spent in another. And so we have issues around, for example, this week, Honourable Tony Ryle sent out a press release, or last week it was, sir, regarding people who need kidney transplants. There's 600 on the waiting list in New Zealand, and we do 100 a year. And so he's increased funding. And so, yes, it does have something to do with paid parental leave, because it has to do with the balance of funding that we seek to spread over the needs of New Zealanders. And we need to understand, sir, that when we say that some areas take too much, it's not because there is a lack of concern, but it's because there's also concern for other areas where money needs to be spent. And I think that there's a rationale that we need to understand when it comes to spending the government's resources or the taxpayers' funds. So when we say that, or when the sponsor of the bill says that this government doesn't care, that, sir, I refute that. Because what we are essentially saying is that her bill, though well-intentioned, goes too far, costs too much, because it takes away money that needs to also be spent in other areas of desperate need for New Zealanders. And so it's a matter of finding the balance. And I think what Mike Sabin has talked about and what I spoke about not long ago, the balance also around parental responsibility needs to be considered. Because as much as we'd like to make everything easy, we've got to understand, sir, that there is a balance needed. I remember perhaps when this bill first went through, going back to the Principal Act, back in 1987. I don't know about you, but I remember hearing on the radio Richard Prebble speak, and I'm not sure whether it was around this point of time, around this bill, but he said something about parenting which stuck with me all of these years. And he is one of them. He is one of them, by the way. You know that. And he said, when it comes to having children and you can't afford it, because that can be a relative thing for a start, it can be a relative thing, he said, love your kids and enjoy them, even though there's going to be financial pressure. And what he was saying, sir, I think, was that there is joy that comes with every child. And, sir, I think that we forget some of those great, I think, values. I talked before about when I was brought up as a kid in South Taranaki on the farm and out in the rural areas before I became a townie at the age of 10. Sir, there's a lot of things that we couldn't afford, but we had a great life. And, you think that you can only have a great life if you've got all the support that comes from the government. And we don't believe in that. We believe that it's appropriate to give support where it's needed and where it's affordable. But sometimes when you go too far, you create other things that happen. And some of those things that happen is the lack of community support, the lack of wider family support. And, we have gone through our society the way it is with 14 weeks. And we've done that to assist families who, need to have a transition period where they can then make decisions about how they're going to financially manage, perhaps go back to work, or if not, then make adjustments so their budget can cope. We've done all that. But now to extend it out from 14 out to 26, sir, is something which...
I call the honourable member Darian Fenton.